Alright, well, welcome back. This is a tutorial based on the alien skull tutorial that is in the class. I'm also kind of building on the Sugar Skull stuff that your assignment is, and I just went and quickly did a 3D modeling Sugar Skull tutorial search on Google and got these images, so I'm going to have these to the side to look at as I'm doing this. Alright, so we're going to start just as the alien tutorial does with the capsule. And I'm going to add that in. And I'm going to go display, grow our shading lines. I'm going to up my rotation segments a little bit to say 20. You can change your height segments, all of that. F1 to bring it up. I'm then going to come to my cube and add a cube. Definitely too big, so I'm going to go T, scale that down, E, move it down a little bit, okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is add my Boole and drop those two in there. Now remember, this works just like Illustrator's Pathfinder tool. Go ahead and feel free to change the order. But also click on the Boole and you could union, combine the two, subtract, intersect, and without. So I'm going to go to subtract A minus B. B, of course, is too little. So we could also come in here and change your X, Y, and apply that. So I'm going to come down about there. I'm going to go to my cube and I'm going to turn off my Boole by clicking on this green checkbox. And I'm going to increase my segments to 3, that side, on the X, and then on the Y I'm also going to increase them to 3, because what I want to do is then hit the C key to make it editable. Get my polygon selection tool, get my live selection, select these 3 on this side, these 3 on this side, and then if I hit Control, I can actually extrude those out. And then I'm going to move my cube, my whole cube, so I got to go back to my modeling mode, and then that allows me to move that into place. Now, I don't see anything because my Boole's still X'd turned off. Turn that back on so I can see what that looks like. Now, we're missing this part here. So one thing that I could do is, now he does this multiple ways. I'm going to do it a little differently, just so you guys can get an idea of additional ways to do it. So I'm going to take this current Boole and make sure you check this freaking really tiny box that says create single object down in attributes. And believe me, I forget to do this sometimes and it can cause problems later on, but we're wanting to create this model for 3D printing. So create single object, you go right click, current state to object, it makes a new object based on the old one, and then I'm going to take my capsule, delete that, put my Boole in, my cube then, I can adjust it and move it down, left or right, so you really could get all kinds of interesting modeling with that. So you don't have to do it like this, you could put a different object in, whatever you really want to do at that point. Kind of like the direction that's going. So again, one benefit of keeping that same Boole is that I don't have to click on create single object again if it was already clicked on. So I'm going to go right click, current state to object, we got a new Boole. I'm going to delete the old one, put that in, that cube now. We could come in, rotate it, adjust it, but what do I want to do now? I want to, this spool is my, what, skull, right? So I'll name that. This cube, I'll delete. Let's do our eyes. So I'll come in here and do a cylinder. I'll do it on, let's see, we'd probably do it on +Z. I'm going to do rotation segments of 3. So it gives me that. Then I can drop this in. This is my nose. It's definitely too big. So I will, there's several ways of doing that. You could come down here and change your radius. The other thing I want to do with this is rotate. And if I hold my shift key, it'll allow me to go into degree increments. Now, it's kind of, I think 90 should work. So I'll go E. If you want to type it down in here, you can go down to your rotation and then apply. I'm going to go E to move up. Now see what happens is it's going all the way through. Most of the nose sockets don't go all the way through. So I'm going to pull it till I see it and then move it back in. And move it down a little bit, something like that. You did see it snap, and I actually have my enable snap on, vertex snap, and work plane snap. And that way it'll snap to these points, which is really nice. Alright, so we've got our nose hole. Let me just consult my images here again. It does look like the nose goes, gosh, the point goes up, right? So I'm going to adjust mine a little bit and go R, come back here to the cylinder, rotate it 180 degrees. That looks better. E, move it back. So, and you could play with this, you can adjust it, you can add points. You could delete points. I think I'm going to stay with this. And again, click on this. Your boole, current state to object. Now we got our new boole. Delete our skull. Drag the new boole in. Delete the cylinder. There's our new object. Now the next thing we want to do is create our eye sockets. And there's several ways of doing it. You could just come in with a sphere or an oil tank. If I just drop in a sphere into the boole, of course it's too big, so T, scale that down. E, move it up. E, move it out. And you can see how it's carving into that space, which is kind of crazy. And then that sphere, you can also go to tetrahedron, hexahedron, octahedron, icosahedron. Okay. And then you could also take that and put it in a symmetry object. So symmetry, then my sphere. Now I have those two in there. Put it at this level. So now we kind of got that bug eye shape. Now I'm going to take that out because I'm going to show you a different way of doing that. And this is kind of similar to what he did. I'm going to take a circle and a rectangle. And this could be kind of any shape. I'm going to go to my 4-view mode. And he did round on the bottom and round on the bottom and flat on the top. At that point I'm going to go to my, where is it? Not extrude. Well, we will need extrude, so I'll leave that, but spline mask. And I'll take my rectangle spline, my circle spline. And this again works like a pathfinder. So it's A, union. So it's combining those two to create a new spline. Okay. And this actually isn't too bad, so we could even come in here, turn this off, make this rectangle. Let's see, let's do our height, come down in our height. Control, no, just bring it down to where I want it. F1, F2, F3, F4. Now both of those are way too big for an eye. You can adjust it now or later. So I'll hit T to bring that down. O to kind of zoom in on it. Essentially it's the same object, and you could adjust those. I'm going to turn on my spline mask. Now it's combining it, union, but I want to do A subtract B. No, I want to do B subtract A. There's that initial shape. Got that spline mask. Let's see, basic object. I think that's looking good. I'll go right click, current state to object. Creates a new spline. I can delete the old one. Now that spline, I'll do C, making sure it's editable in point mode. So now I can come in and actually, with my rectangle selection, get those points and move it up just a little bit. I could go T and scale it out. I could even go live selection, change it to soft selection, then come back to my scale and adjust it. But I'm going to take that now and drop into my extrude. We can't see anything happening because we were in completely front view, which shows the object. We'll go F1. We've got our object here. This is for the eye socket. We want more than one eye, but you could do a cyclops, I guess. So I'm going to click on my extrude, make sure it is all good. So looking for offset, caps, end cap. You could round the end caps if you wanted to. Selection Fong. So kind of like that. I'm going to go right click, current state to object, delete my old one. Now my new extrude, I'll drop in, make sure I'm in object mode, E, I can move it in place. Okay, now again it's sticking through the head, so I'm going to move it along the Z axis, and it's still a little big, so I'm going to go T, scale it down, E, move it up. Okay. Bring it in a little bit, move it out. You can see where it starts to, see how it flickers right there? That's when it starts to come outside. The object that's subtracting comes outside of the skull. So again, I want to take this so it's symmetrical, and you could do it this way, or you could just copy another one. But I'm going to go ahead and go to my, where is it, symmetry, drop that even with the Boole, drop my extrude into the symmetry, and then I've got the two eyes there, and I could come in with the symmetry, and again move it out or in. I could click on my extrude and T, scale it up or down. Alright, I'm going to move it E just out a little bit, down and back. So we've got a pretty good object there. And again, we want to make sure that we're doing this in the proper order. So I'm going to click on this, right click, current state to object. I'm going to now delete my symmetry, delete my Boole, making sure that that is the object. You could even turn off your Boole to see what it looks like. Okay, And I am going to stop at this point so we can move on to the other objects. But that's the basic beginnings of your skull. So see you in the next video.